excited. We're going to fill you in. So Nicole is a missionary. She's a model, and we're going to be talking to her about some of the things that she's interested in, some of the things that she's doing, and some of the things that she has for down the road.
Yes.
Yay! So
I'm excited. Thank you for allowing me to be here today.
Absolutely. So tell me about yourself, Nicole.
Okay, so I'm Nicole Cook. I have a 14-year-old and a 17-year-old. She'll be 18 in December.
Woo!
I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio, but I've been in Houston, Texas for about 10 years now.
Are you really from
Yes,
Cleveland?
Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, I
Yes.
just went there.
Really?
My brother lived in Hebron,
Okay,
and
yeah.
he just passed away.
Oh no. Oh
So we
no.
went up there, and that's the first time I had ever been to
Yeah,
Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Yeah.
At least you didn't go.
You are listening to the Cali Podcast on the Real, live with El Salsa Radio.
All right, get it.
He's got the magic fingers.
Yes.
I got him. I'm not that great with technology, so I kind of just watch and observe
Right.
and learn, because
Right.
we all got to learn.
Right, that's the best way to learn.
Yeah,
Yes.
and when you've got teens and you've got younger kids at home, it's almost like they know more than you do.
Right.
They know everything, so I'm constantly like, hey,
Help me
I
out.
need help. I
Right.
need help, and they don't want to help. They're
No.
just like, oh, why don't you get it already?
Right.
So, but yeah, about the kids. So you've got two.
Yes.
Yeah,
My son just started high school, so I have one going in, and then I have one coming out.
coming out.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
and how is that?
It's exciting. It's exciting. But see, I used to be a teacher, so I'm used to dealing with
Oh,
teens and children up in there.
nice.
Right. So
So if you guys are just tuning in to Facebook, YouTube, any of that, so we are live and we are
Yes.
here with Nicole Cook.
hey.
She is a model and missionary, and we're just talking about all the amazing things that she has got going on. And just life things. I mean, she does amazing things, and I want her to share all of it with you all.
Yes.
So
Uh,
yeah, just let us
and-
know what you're
Right.
doing.
So I'm the founder of 3 different nonprofit organizations. The first one is called Help Coalition, and Help stands for Healing Every Last Pain.
Wow.
And that was just based on just recognizing the pains that are in society and issues that individuals are dealing with, whether they be mental, physical, emotional,
Oh wow.
and to address those needs. And so out of that sprung, because I thought, well, which audience do I want to focus on first? And
Right.
so I thought the women, because a lot of women are heading up households now. There are a lot of women who are going into the workforce, raising children on their own, and just pretty much making things run. So out of Help Coalition sprung HOW, and that stands for Heal Our Women, Heal Our World. Because I truly believe that if we heal our women, we will heal our children, we will heal our husbands, our mates, and eventually we'll be able to heal the world. And so that was the
Absolutely.
first focus. So we got together. We had a conference back in 2017. It was a nice turnout. And I didn't really know what it was going to be, but what it ended up being is just bringing women together who have never probably would have connected on any other level
Wow.
from different backgrounds, and just bringing them together and allowing them to tell their testimonies, because there's truly power in the testimony, healing power.
Absolutely.
And then after that, so we decided to focus on the youth. And so this summer we hosted our first annual camp. It's called Hey Sis, and it stands for
I
Sister.
love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so catchy.
Right, yeah. And when the girls come in, that's how we greet each other, or when we're like boosting them up, we're like, hey, sis. Hey, go.
Oh.
And so we brought the girls together, and we had our first annual camp, and it was awesome. It was really awesome. So, and that's more focused on the young ladies. And we work with
Wow.
young ladies from 12 to 19
Wow.
from all different backgrounds, and just bringing them together to show them the importance of sisterhood. Women need women.
That's right.
Period.
Absolutely.
We need each other. We need to share our testimonies. We need to share our triumphs. And so that's why that came about.
I love that.
And if we teach the girls now, then they'll grow up to be women.
That's right.
Yeah. Because
Right.
sometimes you hear a lot of women like, "Why don't deal with other women?" And you have a mother, you have a grandmother, you have
Yeah,
aunts, you
you
have
gotta,
sisters, right?
you
So
have
right,
to, and
yes,
that's just part of it. And that I had that mentality for a long time. Is I didn't want to be around other women. I didn't want to be around other females
right,
because it was weird. I had a kind of a strange relationship growing up with the females around me, and I absolutely love my sisters and my mother and everything. But you know, my sister, these are things that they need to be touched on when you're a child,
right,
and that is the most important thing. People say, well, they're grown adults, but you know what? They were children once.
yes,
They were adolescents once
yes,
in their life, and if had they learned some of these things that we're trying to spread the word, spread the good news, spread all the positive role models, and get them people together so that we can make a huge impact on the adolescents and the youth. We won't have so many big
thank you,
problems
right,
when they get
right,
older.
right,
They're missing
yes,
something. And then you got parents that say, well, they're grown now. And it's, to me, it's like these problems should have been addressed before
yes,
these people were grown, because they
yes,
never really had the chance to grow correctly, and
right,
to and it is many years of bad learned behavior.
yes,
And so what do you do with that? As a parent, you've got to take some
yes,
responsibility. You have
and
to.
and I've been mentoring girls. I've been working with girls for a while now. I participated with the YWCA. They hosted a program, and I would go and speak about healthy relationships. And you would not believe the things that these girls are going through, or even the things that they know. And I will give them an opportunity to let me know, like, what kind of topics would you want to talk about, or what type of things are impacting you. And a lot of them was like, how to communicate with my parents, because I think a lot of parents get older and then they forget that they were a child once. They forget all the foolish things that they did, or the insecurities or the things that they want to, and they try to put those on their children.
Right. Right.
And instead of being honest with them and letting them know, hey, I made these mistakes. I'm not
Absolutely.
perfect, and
Absolutely.
I am a continuous progress. Like,
Yes.
I am going to be working on being the best person I can be until I leave this earth. Period.
Absolutely.
No, until we leave here, we're going to be a work in progress.
We all are. And that's why I try to tell people is, we are put here on this earth so we can do something for other people,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And I love what you're doing. I love what you're involved in, and it gives me hope for the youth.
Yes.
Um, with Miss Cosmic, I try with literacy and education.
Yes.
That is my title, Miss
Right.
Cosmic, and there is, but we forget about the lost, the broken,
Yes.
the ones that have been incarcerated
Yes.
young, the ones who have children young, and then those kids get taken away because mama hasn't or daddy hasn't fully developed in their mind, and they're not ready. They weren't ready to become a parent, let alone an adult.
Right.
Right.
Right. And and here's the thing, like, we should include it in the curriculum. Children
Mm.
spend a lot of time in school, and before I moved here, I worked with a program, and it used to be in school suspension, but I was like, well, I don't like that. So what I called it was a reflection room, and so that gave them the opportunity to come in and to reflect on the behavior. Like, there is a reason behind everything that someone does. Children don't come in this world damaged and mean and angry and dysfunctional. It's something
Absolutely.
that happened. It's something in that environment that is going on. And so if they can work that out, and you can teach them to kind of cope and deal and communicate before they become adults, and you won't have so many adults running around
Absolutely.
here dysfunctional or not able to get along. So if we, I just really believe that that should be included in the curriculum, that they should focus on character building, relationship building, And coping,
Life skills.
yeah, coping skills, right?
Yes.
And life skills aren't just learn how to cook, clean.
Right.
No,
Right. And
no,
those aren't even taught.
no.
So this is definitely something that we've got to touch on in the school systems. We've got to bring this to our school systems.
Yes.
Because we live in a cruel world.
Yes.
I'm just going to say it. We live in a world of dysfunction.
Absolutely.
So when there is dysfunction and chaos outside of the home, and then you got chaos inside of the home, then you go into school and you're trying to learn, math and all of those things that you need for life. You've got to also have some kind of skill building life skills to help get you through.
Yes.
Because what happens is, when you got dysfunction inside your home, these kids are going to school looking for an out.
Yes.
That is what they're
Yes.
doing. They're wanting to escape, and they're going to school, and what happens is they're not getting that home. So they're looking for mentors. They're looking for somebody in the school system to reach out to them and pull them out.
Yes.
And parent or teachers, we don't have enough teachers in society. We don't have enough teachers in the school system. And we've got one, maybe two counselors. Okay, and
Yes.
you got one or two counselors for 3,000 kids. How
No.
is someone going to get these issues? How is
Yes.
a parent going to know that, hey, my child is struggling? We got issues, and we need to fix these issues at home as well.
Yes.
Because it's coming out into the school system now.
And then too, because in a perfect world, and we don't live in a perfect world. Okay, we can say that, we can do that, but there are some parents who just don't know how to be parents.
Right.
And so what I found is, even with speaking with the young ladies, is this is not the end for you. If you don't like what's going on in your household, in your environment, use that energy. Start writing down your vision for yourself. Start imagining yourself in a type of environment. Start imagining a type of parent, even if your parents aren't going to be, but if you one day have children, what type of parent you would want to be. And understand that this is not the end of the road for
Right.
you. And that sometimes the greatest struggles are given to the strongest soldiers. That you're not just going through this for yourself, but for someone else.
That's
And if we could get off the blame game and teach people not to be victims, but to be victorious,
Yes.
children have the capacity to understand that. They can get on these phones and these electronics and do that. Then they have the capacity to be taught coping skills.
That's right.
And if we teach them now, like all the things that I'm learning now, like affirmations and meditating and, all those things now, what if we start our children at that? Do you know how unstoppable they would
That's
be?
right. Oh my gosh. And you said it is, children are way smarter than we give them credit
Yes.
for. They are so smart, and they're like sponges.
Yes.
They observe all of the knowledge and everything. So if you don't think they're observing the knowledge, I tell you, when they go to school and they're learning that bad behavior and that
Yes.
crazy behavior
Yes.
inside their household
Yes.
just as much, just as quickly. And what happens is our children they're learning to tune out.
Yes.
So then when mom or dad decide, oh, I'm going to parent for the 5 minutes, or I'm going to jump in real quick because little Johnny's on a bad behavior, you're trying to correct years of behavior in those 5 minutes, and you don't and then parents aren't understanding why little Johnny's not being good.
Right.
Well, little Johnny's been taught for all his life, and so you can't expect a child just to be like, okay, I've learned this whole behavior for my entire life, but let me quickly fix it
Yes.
to make you happy.
Yes.
And it doesn't work that way. And I'm telling you, it doesn't work that
No.
way. In my household, my father was very strict. I
Mhm.
mean, very, very strict. And I knew better. I knew not to disrespect my mother. I knew not to be that way. But on the flip side is I saw him disrespect my mother. I saw the way that he
Right.
treated
Right.
me or my brothers, or my brother or my sisters. I saw how he was.
Right.
So how can you tell me not to act
Right.
one way?
Right. 'Cause,
And then,
yes.
or
You going
tell
to
me
it.
not to be a mouth,
Right.
and I never really did because honestly, I was scared.
Right.
I
We
was scared.
right, and
of
we
my
came
dad.
we came up in the generation of don't do as I do, but do as I say.
Yes, yes.
And you're looking at them like, oh, when I get grown though, wait, and so we have to be mindful. But children don't come with a manual, and parents are just parents. And if we can teach children that, when I learned that, to begin like to really grasp the concept that my mother is a woman too. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
She has the same issues that I
Mhm.
have, the same insecurities. She's a human being, because sometimes we make our parents superhuman or supernatural.
Right.
We don't think that they go through anything, or they're. But see, I'm very forward with my children. Like, look, I'll tell my son, you need to pray for me. I'm having a hard time. Encourage me. I don't have all the answers. I wake up some days and lose my breath just
We're
thinking about
lost.
that I am responsible for other human
Other
beings,
human- that's
and so
right,
that's a lot.
Mm.
But
And that flows into the topic of the show today. Is we've got the topic is basically our we have secrets. Our parents have secrets, right?
yes,
And so we gotta be honest and real with our children when we're struggling. I'm not saying bring all your junk out onto the table. I'm not saying that. But when your child gets older and you haven't explained to them, hey, I went through similar circumstances, and you haven't talked to them about these issues, and little Johnny just thinks, my mom doesn't like me or my dad doesn't like me. No, little Johnny needs to know that, hey, I had issues too,
right,
and I didn't get to work on my issues,
right,
but we can work on those issues together,
yes,
and we can overcome. Because I think that's where a lot of it, we do look at our parents as, kind of a superhero, like
Mhm.
that, like they're not human, like, and we do look at them that way.
yes,
And that, we put them on this pedestal. And yes, absolutely respect, obey your parents and love them, but also know that they are human.
yes,
They've had a past.
yes,
They've gone through things. They were children once too.
mm-hmm.
So whatever you're going through, they've gone through it too. So, I hear this, well, you don't understand. I do understand.
Right,
I understand that in way more
right,
because I've been through so much. So, and I tell my children flat out, I try very hard not to keep those secrets.
right,
Look, mom and dad are struggling. We need prayer. We
Mhm.
need encouragement.
right,
We need those things during prayer time, devotional time. Hey, I had a crappy day. I
Mhm.
need you to pray for me.
yes,
And for a child to pray for their mom or dad,
mm.
that's huge.
Yes.
And it's so much. Do we want the put the burden on them? No, absolutely not. But we want to be realistic with them because
Transparent, yes.
and transparent because we want those children to come and say, "Listen, I'm having a bad day.
Mhm.
I was bullied today." We want to get to the bottom and the root of the issues,
Right.
because these issues occur, and then when little Johnny turns 20 years old, you didn't do anything about those issues, and little Johnny's still carrying all of that,
Right.
plus some,
Right.
because life will wear you down.
And now little Johnny's not interested in what you have to say in your opinion,
Yep.
because you haven't been true to yourself. You haven't done anything to try to heal yourself. So why are you going to take advice from someone who doesn't take their own advice? And
Absolutely.
that's how children look, and they think their parents are hypocrites.
Yep.
Because
Absolutely.
they see their parents do all type of things, and so there's been a movement with self-care and self-love, and a lot of adults are trying to recapture and
Yes.
do healing themselves, and which is awesome, which is perfect. But I say include your children in
Ew,
that. Let
right
them
there.
know that mom needs to go to therapy, and counseling, and it's okay not to be okay sometimes.
Absolutely.
And you don't, and we have to quit telling our boys to man up. They're not men,
That's
they're
right.
boys,
That's
what I'm
right.
saying, who need love and who need guidance too. And what I do with my son, if I see him having some behaviors, like I'll tell him. The other day he asked me for something, and I said no, and he gets to pouting or whatever. And I told him, I said, do you know that that's a manipulating behavior? And as a young man who's going to be a grown man, that's not a good look for a man to be manipulating
Right.
or to try to get angry. Understand, if someone tells you no, then that doesn't mean forever, because how many times
That's
do I
right.
say yes? And so if I say no, understand that it's for a reason, and respect that. Don't those are manipulating behaviors. And so if we talk to our children like that, and we're honest, instead of yelling and screaming or waiting until it gets out of hand,
The bowling point.
right,
Yeah.
and then and they understand and they
Yeah.
get it.
They do.
Because think about yourself at that age. You got a
Oh.
lot. Your parents probably didn't think you, but you knew a lot at 12 years old.
Oh yeah.
You know?
And that's one thing is my mom could be very, very cold, and I learned that very young. She was just kind of and I love her, so I'm not going to disrespect her, but I knew she went through a lot.
Yes.
I knew that she went through a lot. And as I got older and I went through similar things, I wanted to share. I wanted to let her know, listen, this happened to me. And the response I got wasn't what I was searching for.
Right.
The response I got was everybody goes through the same thing. And I guess for me, it was, and I wasn't really looking for sympathy. I just was looking for, you know what, I went through that. I'm here for you.
Right.
And that's what we forget.
Right. But you also have to teach your children not to have any expectations, because sometimes you're not going to get apologies. Sometimes you're not going to get understanding. Sometimes some people are just not going to get it.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And that's okay. But you have to find a way within yourself to be okay.
Yeah.
You have to be
Right.
able. So if your mother wasn't able to give you the love, now as an adult you can go and choose, and you can give that love to someone else, and then that'll come back to you. So whatever you don't get, if you give that, and it comes back. And because now you know how to give it even deeper. Because sometimes people don't have appreciation of something if they're always used to it.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And use that as to say, well, if you don't like that behavior in your mother, make sure you don't repeat that cycle.
And I told one of my kids that they were telling me something about, probably something I did, or, whatever, how they were raised or whatever.
Right.
And I said, if you don't like the way you're raised, you fix that. You correct that for your children.
Yes.
Because we all learn.
Right.
We're living and we're learning every single day. And when you have kids young,
Yes.
that is, you're learning together, and you kind of, honestly, you're growing up
Right.
together. And so I know I have made my fair share of mistakes, and that's something you can't be afraid to not admit. You
Right.
got to admit when you're wrong. And you got to admit when you have mistakes, and mistakes have been made, so that these kids will respect and
Yes.
look at us as authority.
Right.
Otherwise they don't get it. They're not understanding.
No, and these children are smart.
Yeah.
These children are advanced, and they know nonsense when they hear it. They know lies when they hear it. And
They're not dumb.
no,
They know.
at all. And so you have to keep it real
Right.
with them.
Absolutely.
Like on the real, you have to keep it real, because this generation, they're exposed to so much that you better keep it real. And you need to let them know before the people in the streets let them know.
Oh,
You better teach them before the world teach them.
before
The
teaches
world
them.
gets a hold of it.
And I'll tell you, it's not a pretty world out
No.
there. So, and I say this: they will chew you up and spit you out,
Right.
and with no remorse.
Right.
So, if you can grab a hold, if you've got one about to go out the door, and they're looking at life, all right, life can be very overwhelming. So, what I've noticed in this generation of children is children want to stay at home. They don't want to be pushed out in the world because it's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary for them. All they see is negative, 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 negative. And then they go to school, and you see shootings. You see all this crazy stuff happening every single day across the world. not just in your home, but across the world. So these kids are afraid to step out,
Mm-hmm.
and they're afraid to grow up. And that is something that we have to unteach our children.
Yes.
We've got to
No
teach
fear.
them no fear. We've got to teach them that it's okay.
Yes.
Like this is life.
Yes.
These things are gonna happen.
Yes.
And it's how you deal with them that's going to make you a better
Absolutely.
person and teach you and help you.
And you're going to have mountain moments, mountaintop moments. You're going to feel on top of the
Oh,
world, and you're
yes.
going to have valley moments where you're going to feel low,
Yes, absolutely.
where you're going to feel low.
And that's true. There is that song. What is it? Ain't no mountain high
Oh, yeah,
enough.
right.
That
Ain't no
one,
valley, yeah, low enough,
low
right.
enough.
So-
and it's so true.
And I was having that conversation today, but if we can teach them to be content in whatever state that they're in, then we won't have people who are not able to cope. Struggles are gonna come. There's beauty in the struggle. We don't okay. We don't want to create a generation that is that are victims.
Right.
You know, and, oh, woe is me, and I can't handle that, and I don't know how to deal with that, and they did that to me, and you know.
I saw something that was really mind blowing to me, and it was at some of the colleges. So they've got these rooms now that kids can go and throw fits in these rooms. And so whenever I
Oh,
learned
wow.
that, I was just kind of shocked, because you if your child is old enough to get out in the world and they've got a car, they're going to school, they're doing all these things. I would think that they're grown enough to come to their parents or to a counselor or something like that and get some help. And so whenever I learned that they have these type of rooms, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, yeah, it may be something that you go to and clear your head for a little bit, but I think we're coddling the generation. We're coddling these adolescents, and we're not holding them accountable for their actions. I see in the store, in the grocery store, I see these kids completely out of control, completely out of control. And mama or daddy or both, they're just here, take this.
Material
Take this
stuff, yeah.
candy.
Mhm.
Take this. Oh, little Johnny, what do you want? You know what? If your child acts that way, a certain way, and they're throwing a fit. Now, I understand if the child's sick, hungry, or something like that. I get it. We all
Right.
have things.
Right.
But if a child is just learn to manipulate you
Right.
and throw a fit in a store because the child wants a candy at that point in time or a toy or something like that, you got to reevaluate.
Yes.
You got to reevaluate your whole situation because that child has learned to now manipulate and completely turn parents against each other.
But here's the
happens.
thing: you're going to set them up for failure
They-
because the world doesn't care
They don't
about
care.
your tantrum.
Nope.
The world doesn't care about your entitlement, feeling entitled to anything. The
That's
world
right.
doesn't care about that.
They don't, and that's why I'm saying when you get out in the world, it's going to hit them hard.
Yes.
And that's kind of where those kids revert backwards, and they want to stay at home because it's easier to stay at home and get taken care of than it is to face
But
the
then
world.
the parents, because here's what
They
happened.
grow old. The parents grow old.
Right.
you're
Because here's what
tired.
happened. We feel like we had it so hard. Our children aren't. We don't want our children to have it as
Right.
hard as us. We don't want them to go through anything. So we kind of coddle them and give them this and give them that without really making them work for it, and so they have no appreciation for it. And then we
Right.
get upset when they don't appreciate it.
Yeah,
When
that's
we haven't
exactly it.
when we haven't set any boundaries or anything to begin. We haven't instilled anything in them. And they have to have coping skills, or they're not going to make it in this world. They have to learn to survive, thrive in this world.
And that, to me, is the scarier thought.
Yeah.
To me, when you have a child and you know they don't have the coping skills to get out in today's society, in today's world, because the world is going to chew them up and spit them out. And do they have the tools to bounce back, or are they going to fall so hard?
And if the parents can't do it, that's why I feel like it should be in the curriculum,
And,
TV, music, or whatever, because everybody's not going to get it at home.
Right. Absolutely.
But this is it's going to be a world problem because when they come to rob your house or shoot up your kids, the school where your children are, or bully your children, now it
Then the
becomes an
parents.
issue. But
Yep.
if everyone shows some concern and try to do something about it, then we can kind of alleviate that. And so that's why, because every parent is not going to be able to do that. Every parent is not comfortable. But that's why I think it's important to have programs like Hey Sis. When I was in Ohio, we did what we call masterpieces for the boys,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
and just teaching them character skills, how to cope, conflict resolution, you
Right.
know, things that they can carry on. Because as adults, we get to escape. We can go out drinking.
We can go to work.
Yeah.
And,
Oh,
you
well,
know,
we
it's
or
crazy.
we have things to escape. Like people use drugs,
Oh,
alcohol.
yeah.
The children, you know, they don't have that luxury. They can go and get. You
You know
can go
where they
get
escape?
some prescription. Yeah.
Right here.
Right. Yeah.
They escape to their phones.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what they do. They get in, to the video games and everything. I will tell you, if you set something up for your kids where it's okay to talk to their parents, it's okay to not only just be a parent, but give them guidelines. Your kids will steer away from social media so much
Yeah.
because they're looking for an out.
Well, and I had to do that to my son. He did something. I took his game like for the summer, but I didn't just take it and not replace it with anything. I took it and I replaced it with Scrabble. We played Scrabble,
Good for
Monopoly,
you. I love
Uno,
it.
and they wanted to do that every day. You know, so if we can just get back to interacting, interacting, laughing, just having a good time. That makes a difference.
Yeah.
Talking, being honest, and everyone's not going to have the luxury. So if we teach our children that, then they can be peer leaders for other children.
That's
you know,
right.
and if we
That's
teach
right.
them that, because everybody's not going to get taught that. So if we teach our children, they can be mentors for other children.
And I love that. And I see these young kids, and it's a lot of pressure. When I go to church and I see these young girls, young boys, and they say, "Oh, my friend's having this issue." These kids are being molded, at this time. So if they can learn, and their parents will teach them a little bit of mentoring, just to be a friend. I don't care if that child is friends with them or not. If they see a child struggling, teach your child to say, "Hey, if you need somebody to come and talk to, I'll be more than happy." No, it's good to have a friend or a relative or a counselor, somebody that is in your life that you can talk to, that with no judgments.
Right. And that's what I like about the Hey Sis camp, because it was a variety of girls from all different backgrounds. We had some children that were coming out of the shelters, CPS, who have been taken from there. And then you had some children that were well off, well to do. And so we brought them together, and they were able to have compassion for them. And we were able to we have to create safe spaces where people can tell their stories, and be offered like healing solutions. And it can't just be, which prayer is awesome, but we have to have some actual tools, hands-on tools
Yeah.
for them.
I agree.
Journaling, talking, meditating. Teach them the things that we're starting to learn now.
Yes.
Teach them about
Yes.
self-care, because they're not always going to be able to get what they need from a parent.
Right.
They may not. Some of these children don't even have parents.
Yeah.
They're in
Right.
foster homes. They've been adopted, and believe it or not, there are a lot of teenagers who are on their own.
Wow.
Yeah.
I moved out when I was really, really young, and I needed that. I needed those programs like Hey Sis, and just all of the mentoring program. What I've learned about Texas, especially specifically our areas, we have things like Boys to Men programs. We have programs for girls. These are things where kids they go in, and they may be from a single parent home, and so we take these children and we mold them, we shape them, we give them that father figure or that mother figure that they're lacking in their life. And so that is something I really love. And I know in Conroe at Crier, I know there's a Dr. Todd, and he works with kids. He does the boys part, and then there's a female part. But this is something we need in every single school
Yes.
across the United
Yes.
States
Yes.
and across the world, as a matter of fact.
And what I found out is that there are a lot of individuals who want to do something like this, but they just don't know where to begin. And that's why I created How Heal Our Women Heal Our World, and which I call Wise Women. And those are world innovators, investors, world changers who want to come together and solve some of these issues, but they don't know how. They want to mentor girls, they want to be in programs, but they don't know where to begin. And so that's why I like to be there to kind of steer them, because I've done it. So now I can tell them, well, here's what you can do. This is how you can get involved. And if we can just get, and even us getting together, like you said, it was certain things that you wished for.
Right.
So if we can even get those ideas as a teenager, what type of programs would have really helped you? Because we don't want to create programs that are boring
Right.
or not effective either.
Right. I think a big topic that people kind of scoot around is sex.
Yes.
That is one big thing, because when you've got a child and they're getting to that age, take your blinders off.
Yeah,
Because,
please.
please take your blinders off. I'm telling you, because what's happening is you think, oh, little Johnny,
Oh,
no,
no.
my child, no, please.
They know.
please.
And they know more than you.
They know.
And if
way,
they don't know,
they're learning
yeah.
it. They know it from school.
Yes.
They know it from, and that's okay, because we are trying to mold them and teach them things. But the school can't give little Johnny condoms.
No.
Or they
Right.
can't protect little Johnny when little Johnny's going to Mark's house,
Right.
and Mark's going to see Susan
Right.
on a Friday night,
Thank
and
you.
the parents are going out to eat, and they think everything's peachy. You know what? Let me tell you, we live in a world where sex, everything's around you
Rules,
24 hours a day,
Yes.
all day long. All it is a click of a button. That's it.
And the
And
things
so
they're exposed to.
they're exposed to it. So please don't be afraid to say, you know what, let's get you some birth control.
Right. And
Let's
if
do
they're
these
not
things.
comfortable, find a program.
Yes.
Like the ones who, and then give them permission to do it, because everybody doesn't feel comfortable.
Exactly.
But that's what I love about my husband, because he even taught my son with a banana how to,
Oh, yes,
yeah,
right.
how to do that. And so every boy is not going to get that. So even my husband, I'm encouraging him to start programs, because those are
Wow.
things
They have
that
to
they
know.
need to know.
They need to
and
know.
if you're embarrassed, like my son, I cringe sometimes on the inside when he's telling me things, but he'll never know,
Yeah.
because I want him to feel comfortable
Right.
and come in and tell me and trust in me without like, oh,
You know what I did? I set a computer down, and I'm just being on the real with you. I set it down, and I looked up every STD, every venereal disease, everything out there. Well, I mean, all of it. And I was like, look, this is what will happen if you aren't careful.
right.
This 1 and 3. So me, you, we're sitting here, one of you. So please pay attention to your children.
Yes.
Pay, and that's what we've got to do as a society. We've got to know that these kids are not dumb. They are given technology at such a young age. And if you think that they're not sneaking or
Right.
doing
And-
things,
and don't
please.
be naive. Don't
Right.
be naive.
That's
And they can't do this till they're grown. They're gonna do if they really
they're
want
going to do what they want to do
Thank you.
behind your back.
So
They're gonna
at
do it.
least create a safe space
Yes.
for them to know. Because here's the thing. Here's what I found out. The more open you are, the less curious they are.
Absolutely.
It's only when you restrict something. It's like, well, that's how many
Yeah,
times somebody
what?
told you not to do something and you're doing that very thing.
Right.
But so if they don't feel like it's something that's oh, I know about that. They're not going to be impressed. No one can come along and lure them away, because
Right.
you already talked to them about that. That's something that's already been addressed. So they're not impressed by that
Exactly.
conversation.
And I heard something a few years ago, and I was just kind of appalled. The lady's son was turning 16 and he played football. And I was like, so, have you had the sex talk with him? Oh, no, no, no. She's like, my child doesn't do that. He plays football. And I'm like, oh, your child is 16 years old in
Yes.
today's society. And if you think he's not learning about sex or doesn't know about sex, you better take your blinders off.
Really?
I don't care if you had your child when you were 60. Your kids, no, they're learning these things and they know these things. And if you don't think they do, you're wrong.
And bottom line, we are sexual beings.
Yes,
You had
human.
sex. That's why you have kids. So
yes.
keep it real and cut it out. Period.
Yeah, and just do it in a loving way.
Yes.
There
And
is,
if you can't do it, there are programs, or find someone that your child can trust, or that you can trust
Right.
with your child. And because everybody's not comfortable doing that.
I think
But,
with the
yeah.
female, it's easier to go to mom.
Yeah.
And with the male, is a dad. But if they're not there,
But my mom wasn't okay or comfortable
Yeah,
with that.
right.
You know,
And my mom
every
wasn't
right.
either.
So then what?
It-
So that means we need to have some other
some
options.
some out, and you don't want your child Googling
No.
sex. You don't want to
No.
do it because you're
No.
going to have all kinds of crazy pop-ups come on, and then that only
Right,
makes
right.
the mind
So-
go more. So find somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, a grandma, auntie,
Somebody,
somebody that can talk to them,
Right.
that the child is comfortable having these conversations.
Yes.
They're going to say, oh, no, 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 I don't do that. I don't want to talk about this. You know what?
Well, just in
Talk
case.
about it.
Even if you're not, just in case. Because one
Just
day
in
you
case.
might.
That's
Yeah,
right.
right.
And the other thing is the crazy drugs and alcohol. I see that, and it's in homes. Even wine or whatever, it's there. It's probably there. Most likely, we live in America. And I just saw they passed a law where you can't have tobacco in the state of Texas. You have to be 21 years
Oh,
old.
wow. Mhm.
So they do implement laws, but kids are smart. Again, they will work around those laws, and they will go to a friend's house.
Right.
And so what I've always noticed is the kids who get in the most trouble is because the parents are away on business trips. The ones who are working late all the time.
Mhm.
Those are the kids.
No supervision.
No
They're raising
supervision.
themselves.
Yes, yes.
Um,
So
And we think because children want time,
that's
not
it, that's
material
what
things. They want your attention.
Exactly.
Anything you love, you give attention to. People love their cars. They make sure they're fine. They love, their pets, their animals,
Right.
And so whatever you love, you give your attention to. You give your best. People run out to these jobs and make sure that they're okay. And that, when you have these children didn't ask to be here.
Right.
Have that same energy
Yeah.
and more
Children.
towards them because they need you. And they didn't ask to be here.
Right.
They didn't ask to be here.
I've had, we were a military family, so I would have, little gangbangers, knocking on the door, trying to sell things, and they were little kids, but they were bringing themselves up, and I think about all of those things now, and what could I have done, in those situations at the time. I was younger, and I didn't think about all that stuff. To me, I was just like, oh, well, that's someone's problem.
Mhm.
No, that if one of my daughters or children's friends comes, and I know that they're doing something they shouldn't do, I don't care.
Right.
I'm gonna have to talk to an adult,
Really, right.
because you're now not only hurting yourself, but your household. Now you're bringing it to my child.
Mhm.
And so that is one thing it's got to be talked about. And you may piss some people off. They may be mad at you because they're embarrassed that
Yes.
you've spoken up.
Right.
But I'm the type of person. Let me know,
Right.
because I'm gonna thank you.
Yeah. It
And
takes
that's
a
what we
village.
need
Yeah,
more of. It
takes a village. We've lost that concept somewhere where people are so
They're
don't
like up here.
don't say anything to my kid. Don't do
Yes.
this to my kid. But then when your kid is in some trouble or getting down,
Yeah.
when it could have been addressed.
It could have been addressed. and
Address
it
the
should.
disrespect. Teach them to respect
Yes.
others and themselves. and teach them those things. And if they're not learning those things, because from the standpoint where I've come from, there are a lot of children who don't have that,
Right.
who have dysfunctional environments, and so they don't have that. And so if you see that, it's okay to interject, to tell them that it's okay. I don't know your whole story, and I tell them, but this is not it.
Yeah.
If you can get through this and you can get past, because thank God I don't look like what I've been through, but I'm not ashamed to share my testimony
Me either.
with them either. I'm not ashamed to tell them I was abused as a child.
Yeah.
I was abused as an adult. There were things that I went through, and they appreciate that, because now they feel like I'm not alone,
Yeah.
and that someone can relate to them. That's why we create safe places where people can
Yes.
tell their stories. Like, I went to this high school, these girls, like, the things that they were telling me that they were going through,
scary.
but at the same time it was healing for them, because
Right.
now they were looking around and seeing the popular girls, or the people that they thought were just so happy, and finding out that was just
That's
a
a
mask.
massage. It's
Yeah.
it's
And they're
mirage.
carrying
Yeah.
these secrets around, and so they need a place where they can tell those secrets and not feel shame.
Yeah.
And there are women too. I found, like, we did wind down, and women came, and women admitted things that they hadn't told people ever. So they've just been suffering in silence. So if we can start with our children, so if we can heal our girls, then we won't have to worry about healing our
Yeah.
women.
That's
So
right.
if we
That's
heal our
right.
girls and heal our boys, then we can heal the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one person at a time.
Yes.
But
Yes.
and I've got a little niece who's been incarcerated, and she grew up real hard, really really hard. My sister passed away when she was really young, and she's gonna be in there. I think it's like 37 years is what.
Wow.
And I think I kick myself because no, it wasn't my responsibility. She was still, she was a baby,
Mhm.
and I think, what could I have done to help her and to keep her from going down that destructive path? Because she's got kids, and here's what's going to happen now. Here's what's happening now is she's got these kids that she had before, and not, they're growing up without someone. They're growing up without their mom, or their dad, or whatever. And
But do you see?
now-
But do you see the opportunity for redemption? Because maybe you weren't suited to do anything then, but now,
right
now you have 20/20 vision, and whatever you couldn't do
Mhm.
for and with her, you now have the
To the
opportunity to
kids.
do with her children.
Yes.
And so that's the blessing in it. And who's to say? Maybe her ending up there saved her life,
Yeah,
because she may not be
absolutely.
here. So I don't always
I absolutely feel that
question
way.
everything.
Right.
So it's better that she's here. At least her children know where
Yes.
she's at. And now let's find a way. This is not the ideal situation. It's not the American dream, but this is our life. This is real life. How are we going to make this work for us? How are we going to not let this take us out, or woe is us?
And don't put a blanket over it.
No, and
Don't,
cover
'cause
it
it's
up.
not going to go away.
No, and deal with the pain.
Yeah,
Deal with the pain.
absolutely.
Deal with the anger. Deal with those issues. Let them know that it's okay to feel that. But let's move on. Feelings are fleeting. They come and they go.
They go, and
No.
it's
But
true.
life, you can find something
Life is
to be
always
grateful
there.
about every day.
Love is free,
Yeah.
and,
And love covers
covers
a lot
all.
of things. Yes.
And I always say that is love, is given so freely.
Yes.
And I have a hard time because I'm such a loving person. I've got this huge heart, and a lot of times it gets me in trouble.
Yeah.
It does, because I'm so big-hearted, and I just want. I don't understand. Like I try really hard to be nice to everyone, and then I get upset if I'm like, like my spouse or something. I'm like, I don't get it. Like, how can you do these things? Or
Right.
but he's human,
Right.
and I am too, and
Yes.
we're not perfect.
Right.
We have so many faults, but the good thing is like with our children, we get to say, hey, you know what, we're struggling. We don't feel good today.
No.
We got to work long hours to put food in your mouth, and all of those things. So please bear with us. If you
Right.
don't get a new iPad, it's okay.
Right,
You're
you
not
don't
gonna
need
die.
it. Life is
Your
going to go
life
on
is gonna go on.
because
6 months, it's gonna be
yeah.
old anyways.
Right. And how about take them to some shelters?
Absolutely.
Take them down under the bridges and show them so they can have a real
absolutely.
appreciation
So they can
for something.
appreciate.
Right.
And that's the one thing I loved, and I knew that, my kids, I was like, dang, I got some good kids because, they have those giving hearts.
Yes.
And one thing that really choked me up the other day is my baby. She's such a good girl, and she's like, Mom, I don't understand something. She's like, why is it all the kids that seem like they misbehave or, they bully and things like that, they seem to be the popular one? Like, she didn't get it. She's like, and she's like, I don't understand that. And I was like, sadly, when I was younger, it wasn't like that.
No.
It was not like that at all. It wasn't the bad or I'm not gonna say bad kids. There's no bad kids. They're bad behavior.
Right.
But it was not like that, and now it's like that today. And so, what do you tell your child? Because they're growing and they see these things, and it's almost like they want to act out or start doing things because like that's the popular thing to do.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so we've got to turn that
Right.
around.
And popular by whose standards?
Exactly.
And teaching them to be
exactly.
leaders and
Love
not followers,
themselves.
and standing up. And if it just means standing alone,
Yeah, that's
then
what she
don't
does.
be
Yeah.
don't be afraid to do that, because what's popular now is not going to be popular later. These same people are not going to be,
Exactly.
and so don't fall for that. Be your own.
That's why I
own
said,
self.
I said, listen, if you, and I'm going to tell everybody out there, if you can find one good friend, that's all it takes is one good friend. Am I right?
Right.
You don't need a village of friends and acquaintances. It's unrealistic.
Yes. It's,
And they will people
right.
will disappoint you. Don't ever put all of your eggs in one basket because people will disappoint you.
and look for quality over quantity.
Ooh, that's
you know
what
what I'm
I
saying?
told her.
Because if you have quality relationships, you can go deeper.
Yes.
When you have a lot of times it's just shallow and surface.
Absolutely.
And they're not your friends anyway. Some people are. There's a difference between friends, associates, and acquaintances. Know and be able to separate. But the good thing
know
about
your crowd.
yes, and the good thing about them dealing with this now is just to let them know, when you leave high school or junior high or elementary, guess what? There are adult bullies.
Exactly.
There are adult narcissists. And so if you can teach them now to deal with those type of things, you won't have them growing up being in these in abusive situations, or they'll be able to recognize, and they'll be able to kind of navigate around that
And that's
thing.
what we've got to teach them is
Yeah.
like what's toxic, because now when we look at the world, we see so much, and it's almost like it's acceptable,
Right.
and to be
Oh, yeah.
called a
Out of your
you know, a
name.
B word,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
acceptable,
Like it's
and
cute.
it's like
Yeah.
it's not cute.
No.
You don't call a girl that. And I had a young gentleman say something the other day, and I was like, how can you disrespect? I don't care if I'm your elder or not, number one, but being a gentleman, a boy, and who's almost 20, and you want to be disrespectful to a grown woman, you need to. I don't care if I was your mama, I would bust your
Right.
butt.
And how would you like for someone to talk to your mother?
Your mother
or handle her
your
that
daughter?
way? Right.
I mean,
right.
and that's one thing I tell the kids. I'm like, listen, when you have children, you got to realize, hey, would I want my child to be talked to this way? Would I want them to be treated this way? And so you got to look at that whole situation. But yeah, there's so many great things, guys, and the world is not all bad.
No.
It is not all. There's so much good in the world. Find your people. Find a networking group that you can get involved with. There are so many on social media, online, that you can just be like, hey, where can I help? Where can I be a mentor? Because what happens is we carry all of this stuff, and then as we get older, we find out our parents have secrets.
Yes.
We find out our parents had lived through all of these things, and we just didn't know because we put them up here. And so we need to make sure that we are educating our children. We need to make sure that all of these things that are coming out, we need to help them and say, hey, I've lived through that. I was bullied. I am a person who can testify to those things and share those things and
here's
help
how
you.
I overcame, right?
Yes, and so you don't want your child in 20 years to not understand why little Johnny doesn't get love. You don't want that to come back and bite you. Teach your child, listen, there's adults, and I see them all the time. They don't get it. They don't get why their parents act a certain way or why they were treated a certain way, because that parent had secrets. You don't know everything about your parents.
And don't take it personal.
Don't take it personal.
Don't take it personal.
Because that's going to hurt you in the long run.
Don't
know that, your parents are human too, and we all make mistakes. And you can just say, hey, why did I not feel the love coming from you as a child? Why? I felt this way, and I really need to know, is it something I did? And that's something that we've got to learn and we've got to correct. We got to learn to be able to talk to each other and talk to each other as adults, and know that we all struggle. Everybody struggles. We're not perfect.
And if you don't have the luxury, because some children have been abused and their parents may be locked up or away or even deceased. So you may not have the luxury of talking to them or getting an understanding of them. So then that's where therapy may come in, or that's where writing affirmations or just dealing with the inner child. Yeah, write a book or dealing with the inner child. Because that inner child never leaves you. So whatever you missed out on or you wish someone would have told you as a child, encourage yourself. Put that into yourself, and then encourage another child. Encourage someone else.
That's right.
Give them that. You went through what you went through, not just for you.
Yeah, for somebody.
It was for someone else. Yeah. And you're here for a reason. You have a reason. And if you see someone hurting, or if you have ideas and you want to make a difference and you want to do something, do it. Just do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes we want to wait until everything's perfect or our lives are going great. But no.
It's start from
Start from where you are. And if it's something that you can offer someone, do that. Secrets, I found with secrets come shame, come regrets, transparency. How does it go? Tell the truth, shame the devil. Yeah. So when you put that out there, no one can hold anything against you. No one can talk about when you put yourself out there and you're transparent about your pain and about what you've gone through and been vulnerable. You bring other people out of the pit.
That's right.
And when I say pit, there in order for you to bring people out of the pit, there is power in testimony. Tell it. Quit hiding secrets. Quit keeping things to yourself. Tell it. That's how you're going to heal.
And that's one thing that I love is, definitely don't hide it. But I don't want you to. People always seem like if they say it, they look like a victim. No. You're not a victim. No. You're victorious because you are overcoming. You've overcame it. You're helping somebody else. And you have gone through every single thing in your life for a reason, for somebody, to help somebody else and be that voice for them. And so that is one thing that I've learned throughout my life. I didn't know what purpose I served. I didn't understand it until I got older. And then I was like, wow, I went through all of those things because I can help Johnny, Jimmy, Jack, Jim, all these people. But it only helps. It only takes one.
And I call myself the love expert. And love, I broke it down in acronym, is a life of victory every day. That's love. How can I live a life of victory every day? So there are daily doable practices. There are daily things that you can do. And these are the things that people need to be taught. Another acronym that I use for love is a life of virtuous experience. Create experiences that, live your dream, not the American dream, but what you want to do. What truly brings joy to you. Your talents should make you talents. Your gifts should be gifts to the world. And so that's what I think we should encourage.
And the other thing, too, is I've learned this. Always know that there's going to be somebody out there who's going to do it better, greater, have, do it, way, way more, and you have to remember that. Don't beat yourself up when you're climbing, when you're doing great things, and you see somebody else that's doing more or better or whatever. And I see that a lot in kids. They beat themselves up, and then they want to back off. They
Right,
want to give
right.
up. Do not give up. Keep
Endure,
going. 'Cause
endure,
keep
endure,
going. Somebody else
endure.
is always, there's always going to be
Yes.
someone else. There's always going to be bigger and better things in life. And so you just got to keep going. But we're just
And it's
keeping
always
going.
going to be a matter of perception. As long as you're doing your personal best, then that's the best.
That's
I
right.
told my friend today, when we're running a race, it's rigged for you to win. It doesn't matter how many people cross that line before you. When you cross that line, you still are in
Yes.
first place. You're
That's
still
right.
going to receive your gold medal. So run, walk, crawl. Just get there and quit worrying about what's going on
Quit worrying
in the
about
other
everybody
line, other
else.
lanes.
Worry about you, your
Yes.
self-healing and loving yourself. But we thank you for joining us in this hour. I want to thank Ivan Studios for giving us the voice. I want to thank DSP for giving us the music for the intro. And all of our sponsors out there in Houston, Texas, and the metro area, we love you all. And we thank you for tuning in. Next week, we're going to have a really cool topic. So I'm excited. I'll put it out there. And share, if you've learned something, share with somebody else. Get that movement going, and let's just love each
Yes,
other
let's
and
change the world.
uplift. Let's change the world
Yes.
one person at a time.
Yes.
Good night, everyone. See you next week.
Bless you.
Bye bye.